Committee on Consumer and Working Protection. At this time, please do not approach the dais. I repeat, please do not approach the dais. Silence all electronics. If you wish to testify, please talk to the sergeant at the back of the room and fill out a witness slip. If you wish to do so at testify online, you may do so at testimony@council.nyc.gov. That is testimony@council.nyc.gov. At this time, if you need any additional services, please contact the sergeant. Chair, you may begin.
Good morning, and we apologize for the delay. My name is Julie Menon, Chair of the Committee on Consumer and Worker Protection. Thank you all for joining us for today's hearing on Intro 865 in relation to reporting on workplace fatalities. Intro 865, sponsored by Councilmember De La Rosa, would require the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to establish and maintain an online publicly available database that compiles information related to workplace fatalities that occur in New York City. A centralized registry with the circumstances of workplace deaths in the city would better allow us to continue to work towards improving occupational safety and health. I look forward to hearing from the administration and other stakeholders on this bill. And now we are going to call on representatives of the administration to testify. We'll be hearing testimony today from Carlos Ortiz, Assistant Commissioner for External Affairs at DCWP, and Hallie Redeker, Director of Legislative Affairs for DCWP. I'll now turn it over to Committee Counsel to administer the affirmation.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions?
I do. Good morning, Chair Menon. My name is Carlos Ortiz, and I'm the Assistant Commissioner for External Affairs at the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. I'm joined today by Director of Legislative Affairs, Hallie Redeker. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on Instruction 865 relating to the reporting of worker fatalities in New York City. DCWP provides fundamental consumer and worker protections and financial empowerment programming to New Yorkers. We strive to ensure that consumers who have been deceived or exploited have recourse, that workers have a passionate defender of their rights, and that all New Yorkers have the support they need to improve their financial health. Since the start of the Adams administration, DCWP has helped deliver $785 million into the pockets of New Yorkers through debt relief, restitution, the minimum pay rate, and financial empowerment programming. DCWP is steadfast in its commitment to ensure fair workplaces for all New Yorkers through our dedicated enforcement efforts and proactive outreach. Since 2021, DCWP has secured more than $43 million in restitution to nearly 36,000 workers across the city. And we have conducted nearly 1,000 events to educate New Yorkers specifically on their rights in the workplace and what actions to take if those rights are violated. Workers' rights will always be an essential priority for the department. Moving to today's bill, Instruction 865 would require DCWP to establish and maintain an online public database that compiles information related to workplace fatalities that occur in New York City. It would require the Office of Chief Medical Examiner to facilitate maintenance of this database by delivering reports of any work-related fatal injury to DCWP. Ensuring that workers are safe and that employers follow the essential health and safety standards for workplaces is a vital issue for New Yorkers. Workers must have safe working conditions, and the injury of one worker or loss of life on the job site is one too many. Under federal law, employers are obligated to report work-related employee fatalities to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which investigates all work-related fatalities in covered workplaces. OSHA maintains a database that publishes worker-specific and worksite-specific data that covers New York State and New York City in its reporting. Under New York State law, the State Department of Labor has also created a registry inclusive of New York City for work-related fatalities in the construction industry, and is charged with maintaining a public database of aggregate data. And finally, our colleagues at the Health Department Bureau of Vital Statistics, who are responsible for the registration, analysis, and reporting of all vital events in New York City, including deaths, have published data on workplace fatalities as part of its annual summary of vital statistics. Given these existing public health reporting mandates, the ongoing work of other agencies, and the public health surveillance, and that public health surveillance is not in the scope of work of DCWP, we oppose this legislation as drafted. I would also like to note that the Law Department is also continuing to review this legislation. Of course, we welcome continued collaboration and partnership with all stakeholders, workers' advocates, and the Council to strengthen workplace protections in New York City. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify today. I look forward to our discussion and answering any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I also want to mention we've been joined on Zoom by Majority Leader Farias. So a couple questions. In your testimony, you mentioned a number of federal and state databases related to workplace fatalities. Do these databases include independent contractors? So for example, would they include delivery workers employed by third-party apps?
Thank you for the question, Chair. I'm not sure if these databases include existing include independent contractors and their existing reporting. Although I will say that in the context of food delivery workers, the city has been working on a comprehensive package to improve safety standards for food delivery workers in traffic settings, and would also compile. It is also, as a part of that, is working to compile reporting of traffic incidents, injuries, fatalities.
And in terms of the database of workplace fatalities, how can you ensure that it's user-friendly so the public can really utilize this important data?
Thank you. I think for us at DCWP, transparency, accessibility of our public information is a major priority. Over the past few years, for that reason, we've been working to update our systems through the business automation process to make sure that we're more accessible for New Yorkers. And along those lines, we've actually recently been able to start rolling out again, after a little bit of hiatus, our open data sets, which we hope to have accessibility and to be very user-friendly as well. I think that's generally how we want to approach that type of work. You know, from my role as Assistant Commissioner for External Affairs, I also want to make sure myself and my team are very available to not just yourself, Chair, but also constituents in New York City. I will say that with respect to the mandate in this bill, reporting on public health, I think we do have concerns about being the agency charged with that. I think our core work in worker protection really focuses on the enhancement of economic daily lives, and I think moving into public health, I think we'd have concerns into having that reporting mandate.
So what are the specific concerns you have about that?
Well, I think generally, I think given that there are other agencies involved, both at the federal, state, and local level that currently take in original data on public health, on fatalities. I think I mentioned that the Bureau of Vital Statistics, for example, they're required to receive all information on deaths that occur in New York City. I think one concern that we have is being another participant in that field. Again, for public health surveillance, reporting, and analysis, I don't think that's something that is our core work. I think we want to make sure that our resources and our capacity is dedicated to enforcement of key workplace laws, paid safe and sick leave, fair work week, the minimum pay rate. So I think that's the nuance that I'm trying to achieve. I mean, don't get me wrong, workplace safety is a key issue, and we certainly commend the council and the member on that.
I mean, I guess what I would argue is that, and I was commissioner when this agency changed from its core mission of consumer affairs to then worker protection. This is a key worker protection issue that is going to really provide a valuable resource in terms of safety information, and hopefully then we'll be able to prevent future fatalities from happening. So, having DCWP perform this key role, I think, is of critical importance.
Well, I think, for me, I've always, in my role, tried to make sure that I'm able to also help define for folks the scope of what worker protection means, because I think it could be a very nebulous kind of concept if you think about it. I have certainly myself, and I don't mean this facetiously, have received complaints from folks. A person came off the street, assaulted one of my workers, what can you do for me? And you could see how worker protection in that context makes sense for a constituent, but in reality, we know that there are other mechanisms that address that type of assault. So for me, I think I want to make sure that we're guiding people to the right direction. I want to make sure that we're leveraging the expertise and capacity that we have now to really focus on the work that we can provide, that we should be providing in the aforementioned laws that I mentioned.
In terms of the database, how would you ensure that it's updated in real time?
Well, I think that's a real concern that we would have. I think the law has built in, the proposed law has built in some partnership with OCME, the Office of Chief Medical Examiner, although I know they have concerns about what data they have accessible to them and also certain privacy concerns. But realistically, we're not situated to take in this data. We're not currently doing that. I know there are requirements right now in the proposed law about employers sending this in too. But I think, again, this is not something that we feel situated to be performing. There are other agencies in the public health space that already get this information, and I think
But if those other agencies are already receiving this information, then why can't DCWP serve as a conduit to gather the information and then make it publicly available?
Well, I think if it's a question of being able to disseminate information, be a partner with our agencies who are the leaders in that type of information, I think we're always ready to be involved in that space. I think I'm more concerned about creating any unnecessary redundant layer on data collection, perhaps original data collection, or anything that's duplicative. I think we want to make sure we're efficient. Ultimately, we're a very small agency, but I think the way we've been successful, as you saw in my testimony, collecting or helping deliver almost $1 billion to New Yorkers in just the past few years, the way we've been successful is by being able to really strategically deploy our resources now. And for that reason, I think the more we move out of a scope that we're currently in, I would be concerned about being able to fulfill that mandate.
Okay, we've got a number of people who are going to be testifying in support of the bill, and I know they've been waiting a long time to testify. So what I'm going to do is, thank you for your testimony. It would be really helpful if both or either one of you could stay to hear the testimony, because I think it's so important for the agency to be able to hear that. So I would make that request.
Of course, Chair, and I would say that the folks that are coming to testify, they're close partners, they're close allies of the agency. I echo your statement that it's very important to hear from them in this setting as well. So we look forward to listening.
Great. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, I am now going to open the hearing for public testimony. I want to remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant-at-Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you'll have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic, which is, of course, Intro 865. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant-at-Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. So I'm going to call the first panel, Mike McGuire, Brendan Griffith. If you could please come up as the first panel. Thank you. Okay, good morning. Okay, please proceed.
Good morning. My name is Brendan Griffith, and I am the Chief of Staff and Mobilizing Director at the New York City Central Labor Council, AFL-CIO. Thank you, Chair Menon and the other members of the Consumer and Worker Protection Committee for the opportunity to testify today. I am here to speak in support of Intro 865. As an organization representing more than 1 million workers in New York City, the Central Labor Council is committed to honoring and remembering fallen workers who have lost their lives on the job. Even this week, we mourn the loss of Richard Arrico, a 54-year-old veteran of the Department of Sanitation who was killed in the line of duty in Queens. Richard gave his life in service to our city, keeping it clean, safe, and healthy, and he deserves our collective gratitude. For many years, the CLC has collaborated with the New York Committee for Occupational Safety and Health, NYCOSH, on an annual Workers' Memorial Day commemoration, which takes place on April 28th. We also coordinate with the Speaker's office to make sure that workers we know have died on the job during the previous month are recognized at a stated meeting. Through that process, what has become clear is the difficulty in finding information about a workplace fatality. Unfortunately, there is no one agency responsible for tracking that information. Our sources include media reports, reports from affiliate unions and labor partners, and social media. Although we are able to collect some data from government agencies, those reports are often incomplete and not inclusive of all worker fatalities, and they are dramatically delayed compared to what this bill will accomplish. Despite our efforts, we are certain there are many fatalities that we have missed. Tracking and reporting workplace fatalities is a vital step toward honoring the sacrifices of New York City workers. These fallen workers were family, they were coworkers, they were friends, and they played a vital role in our broader New York City community. When a worker is killed on the job, it is their loved ones who endure the tragic loss and unimaginable grief. Those losses should be recognized. Workplaces must be safe and secure. The choice to come to work each day should not be a life or death decision, but for too many it is. Without comprehensive and timely data, we cannot effectively track, report, or prevent fatalities. This legislation represents a proactive approach to preventing workplace injuries and deaths, helping to ensure safe and healthy work environments. By gaining a clear understanding of where, how, and how many workplace fatalities occur, advocates can develop effective solutions to solving these critical and urgent issues. At the end of the day, Intro 865 is very simple. It ensures that we honor the lives of the fallen and recognize their service while paving the way for improved safety and protection for city's workers. For the sake of our city's workers, their families, and for the safety of workers for generations to come, I urge the council to pass this essential piece of legislation. Thank you for the opportunity to address the committee today.
Thank you.
Good morning. Mike McGuire. I'm the political director of the Laborers Union here in New York City, representing 17,000 members of LIUNA and 5 local unions. My testimony today comes from a place of knowledge that I acquired as the original author of the statewide construction industry fatality registry law, which I was lucky enough to work with Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa on when she was an assembly member. So the New York State Constitution states, labor of human beings is not a commodity nor an article of commerce and shall never be so considered or construed. This tells us that New York always had a respect for its workers. In support of this clause of the Constitution, hundreds of laws have been passed over the decades to protect the health and lives of our state's workers. However, without complete, accurate, and timely data, we have no way of gauging the efficacy of those laws. Further, and once again, for lack of data, we have no way of knowing who among the workforce is most vulnerable. In working on this issue, I found the Deadly Skylines report produced by New York Committee on Occupational Safety and Health, NICOSH, to be invaluable. This annual report details workplace fatalities in the construction industry in New York State, revealing some startling statistics. For instance, over roughly the last 2 decades, 1 construction worker was killed at work every 5 days in New York State. To be sure, that number shrinks and grows depending on how much construction activity occurs. In bust times, when there are fewer construction jobs, the number lessens. In boom times, particularly when underhanded contractors provide little or no health and safety training, the number grows. Suffice to say that each year, somewhere between 50 and 75 construction workers are killed on their job sites in New York State. Generally, federal OSHA only investigates about 40% of those fatalities, despite what the administration does testify to, leaving a large majority uninvestigated. Approximately 85% of the victims are Latinos or immigrants, and in some years we found up to 93% of the fatalities were on non-union work sites. The only good statistic is there are no female victims in this list. Of course, the bad side of that is the fact that the non-union industry steadfastly refuses to hire any women. The problem with all these statistics, painstakingly compiled by NICOSH, is that they likely woefully undercount the actual number of deaths and do not supply or reflect demographic realities due to the lack of readily available information. Sorry, I crossed out some stuff here. Yeah, so okay. Another issue is coroners may not actually report accidents as construction or even workplace fatalities. Cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head. Manner of death, fall from second story. That doesn't tell us if it was on a work site or at a home or anything else. Another issue leading to inaccuracies is the fact that different municipalities count workplace fatalities in different ways. For instance, for many years, the New York City Department of Buildings only counted a workplace fatality if a member of the public was also endangered. That is to say, if a construction worker fell off a 50-story building onto the sidewalk where he or she could potentially hit a pedestrian, that was recorded as a workplace fatality. However, if a construction worker fell down a 50-story shaft in the center of the building where only other construction workers could get hurt, that wasn't considered a workplace fatality by the Department of Buildings. This measure advances the intent of Section 44. It provides the same demographic information to the victims, age, gender, ethnicity, nationality, trade, union status, etc., that is needed to craft better workplace health and safety legislation, as well as supplying information on the employers. The employer information is extremely important. For instance, right now in New York City, a certain contractor that has killed 6 workers over the last 7 years is working on publicly subsidized projects, one contractor. A city version of this law is necessary for several reasons. First and foremost, Section 44 only covers construction fatalities, and while construction remains the most dangerous major industry in the country, it's certainly not the only dangerous industry in our city. The Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics put out a press release for the year 2022, the latest year for which numbers are available, that revealed 23 construction workers were killed at work in the 5 boroughs during that year. Yet there were actually an additional 60 workers killed at various other jobs in New York City, leaving more than 62% of the workplace fatalities out of the system. It further resolves the problem of noncompliance. Coroners outside the city are most definitely underreporting the number of fatalities in their counties. Although, to be fair, this is more likely due to ignorance of the law than any malintent. It still leaves us with flawed fatality numbers. And finally, we don't know the vagaries of each county's processes, and so, much like we used to have with the Department of Buildings, we have no way of knowing whether those counties even classify any deaths as worker fatalities. With all the data under Intro 865 being compiled and submitted by one agency, the Office of the City Medical Examiner, we are sure to have accurate and timely information that will undoubtedly save the lives of workers in the future. The Laborers Union strongly supports 865 and urges the Council to pass it with all due haste.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We've now been joined by my colleague, Councilmember De La Rosa. Before I turn it over to her for a statement, just a couple questions on your testimony. Can you talk a little bit about why it's so important to have real timely data on workplace fatalities and how you would utilize this data?
Okay. Well, I mean, I think certainly the real-time data comes into play in a big way when we take into account the fact that 85% of the fatalities on the construction side, obviously I represent labor, so I speak from the construction side, but are Latino or immigrant workers. The problem with not having timely information, particularly with immigrant workers, is immigrant workers, if unfortunately they're undocumented, they don't stay in the same place very long. Something happens traumatic like that on a job site, somebody dies, people scatter. And then that data gets lost, and nobody brings justice to bear on the people who are the cause of this. It's just extremely important to get it out there as quickly as possible, and it also helps us recognize industry trends where we see dangerous practices starting to pop up, and they need to be changed. So, yeah, I think the timely data is extremely important.
Great, wonderful. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Councilmember De La Rosa.
Thank you, Chair Menon, and thank you to the panel for being here. And I want to thank DCWP for also coming over today to have this conversation. I'm Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa, the prime sponsor of Intro 865, also known as the Worker Fatality Bill. According to NICOSH's 2024 Deadly Skies report, which is working off limited data from 2022, the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, construction worker deaths in New York City in particular continue to rise as statewide deaths decreased. 24 construction workers died in 2022 compared to 20 in 2021. At the beginning of my first legislative session at the council, workplace fatalities in New York City were up from pre-pandemic levels, while OSHA's inspections remain low below pre-pandemic levels, and issued less and less public information. Workers of color die on the job at higher rates. With Black and Latino workers, job fatality rates are disproportionately higher and continue to increase. A story far too common as shown by the bridge collapse in Baltimore, where 6 Latinx immigrant workers lost their lives after the crash. Immigrant workers are less likely to report safety violations out of fear of retaliation from employers and government agencies, according to NICOSH's report. Violations at worksite coincide with worker fatalities, as we know, pointing to a trend of unscrupulous employers who put work over safety. However, violations do not do enough to deter death nor shame unscrupulous actors into compliance. Our legislation, which we are presenting here today, creates a set of data for us to use to follow up on deaths while holding employers accountable and financially liable for not reporting. Our real goal is to reduce workplace deaths to 0 because no one expects to go to work and not make it back home, especially the workers from our city. I'm grateful to both the CLC, Mason Tenders, the laborers, for their collaboration on this legislation. You know, this is kind of a full circle moment as when I was in the assembly, we worked closely to pass legislation on a state level. We know, given the density of our city and the booming workforce, that we need data that is specific to what is happening here and that goes beyond construction, although construction continues to be a point of focus given the dangers that exist. And so I am grateful for us to be able to move this legislation and have this hearing, and I'm looking forward to our collaborative partnership here. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So without any further questions, thank you so much to the panel. We really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to call the next panel. Michael Tracy, Enrique Valdez, Amari Perez. Please come up. Thank you. Good morning. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning to the committee, Chair Menon, Councilwoman De La Rosa, Deputy Majority Leader Farias, and thank you for bringing this great idea to a hearing. My name is Michael Tracy, the Vice President of the Uniformed Fire Officers Association, proud member of the AFL-CIO and the CLC. We represent over 2,000 lieutenants, captains, battalions, and deputy chiefs who run into fires each day in this city, and we come to you today to support Intro 865. Perhaps you are asking yourself why a firefighter union will come down here today to speak in support. While we lose about one FDNY member a week to a death linked to the hazards of firefighting and exposure at the World Trade Center site, we also have the resources to track, treat, and prevent the illnesses and injuries we sustain in our workplace. We have the 9/11 Health Watch tracking illnesses, an international organization that tracks firefighter injuries, presumptive bills in Albany, and our own committee here in the council where we can raise our own health and safety issues. It is precisely because of these resources that we come to speak in support of this bill today. While we of course fight for the specific hazards facing firefighters and fire officers, we refuse to pull the ladder up behind us. We are part of the labor movement. We respect the hard work and dignity of all workers. We believe these workers should be protected from unscrupulous employers, and we believe this council can offer tools for protection to protect these workers. This bill before us today is one of those tools. Union firefighters are intimately aware of the hazards these workers face. We respond on the scene when unprotected construction workers fall into confined spaces and when a deliverista is hit by a car. A central repository to monitor and track these dangers that these workers face is a common sense tool that can perhaps reduce the injuries we see in the field on a daily basis and reduce our risk as well. It is for these reasons that the UFOA supports the Worker Fatality Bill, Intro 865. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, good morning. My name is Enrique Valdez Gonzalez. Ms. President Julie Manning, I got to speak in Spanish. All right? Y miembros del Comité de Protección del Consumidor y el Trabajador, gracias por la oportunidad de testificar ante ustedes, un solo trabajador, sino como sobreviviente que sufrió un accidente laboral que pudo haberme costado la vida. Por la gracia de Dios estoy aquí para comprobar mi testimonio y abogar por el cambio. Y tengo videos donde tuve un accidente. Tengo 33 años trabajando en construcción. Cada año la mayoría de los trabajadores que pierden la vida en el trabajo pertenecen a la comunidad emigrante. Conocemos algunos de sus nombres, pero muchos otros no. Están en silencio, deben terminar sus historias, deben ser contadas, aunque en el estado de Nueva York se enorgullece por tener las leyes laborales más fuertes del país. No es suficiente, siempre hay más trabajo por hacer para garantizar la seguridad a cada trabajador. Necesitamos lugares de trabajos seguros. Reconocemos que la educación y los planes de prevención son herramientas cruciales para combatir los peligros, pero no es suficiente. Les insto a apoyar al Insto 0865 y ayudarnos a crear una base de datos bastante en relación con la fatalidad del trabajador, en un paso importante para desarrollar estrategias para poner a buenas estructuras y no haya accidentes. Necesitamos un apoyo para conseguir trabajos seguros en Nueva York. Gracias por su tiempo y consideración. Pero necesito decirles otra cosa. En la 39 y la 7ª y 8ª, en Brooklyn, una vez se cayó un trabajador y no lo sacaron, quedó tapado con tierra. Y no lo sacaron hasta el sábado. Se cayó el viernes, hasta el sábado lo sacaron. Y no hay récords de todo lo que pasa en Nueva York. Yo tengo trabajando muchos años en Nueva York. Yo llegué cuando tenía 18 años, en el 90, y empecé a trabajar en construcción. Es por eso que a mí nunca me pasó un accidente, pero esta vez que me pasó, yo le digo a la gente, hay veces que a nosotros no nos pagan, hay veces que no hay récord, hay veces que nos sacan a la calle. Como a mí me pasó, en vez de llamar a la ambulancia, me sacaron a la calle y pensaron que yo no iba a decir nada. Lo bueno que hubo unas personas que tomaron videos y miraron cómo fue que pasó el accidente. Si no, yo no tuviera una demanda y no tuviera compensación. Porque desgraciadamente no tenía papeles, hasta ahora que los conseguí, por base de mi hija. Es el problema que le pasa a muchos inmigrantes que no tienen papeles y a veces se quedan callados. Y ese es el problema también, que a veces no nos pagan y dicen que nos van a pagar. Vamos a muchos lugares y nunca ha llegado el dinero. Ese es el problema que tenemos en Nueva York ahora mismo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Julie. Good morning, members of the Committee on Consumer and Workers' Protection. On behalf of Workers' Justice Project, I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify here of Intro 0865. My name is Armari Perez. I'm the Director of the Construction Division at the Workers' Justice Project, and our program dedicated to education and organizing and empowering day laborers in construction in Brooklyn. Our goal, and Brooklyn and beyond, our goal is to build a culture of safety and eliminate wage theft and provide pathway for day laborers and low-wage workers to secure better wage and create opportunities through our workforce development and job referral programs. Every year, we train nearly 1,000 low-wage workers in 40 hours construction site safety training and connect day laborers over 400 jobs opportunities in construction and others. And we support more than 200 construction workers in their fights against wage theft across the city. We appreciate the New York City Council's funding support through the Day Labor Workforce Initiative and the Construction Site Safety Initiative. Thank you for renewing our grant, and we continue to empower and organize non-unionized and low-wage construction workers in this new fiscal year. On behalf of Workers' Justice Project, I'm here to testify and support the Intro 0865, which would require the Commissioner of the Consumer and Workers' Protection to create an online database of work fatalities in New York City. The chief medical examiner will report work-related deaths, and employers would be required to provide additional information. This is a significant step forward, monitoring workplace fatalities, identifying hazards, recognizing unsafe industry practices, and developing informed strategies to prevent future workplace fatality. For low-wage workers and immigrant workers earning and living in New York, private sectors is becoming increasingly unsafe. In recent years, emerging industries like app-based food delivery have become among of the deadliest, with over 30 worker fatalities in the past 4 years. So, as fatalities and injuries rise across the sector in New York, it's crucial to monitor work-related deaths, to hold unethical employers accountable and ensure that every job is safe and dignified. We strongly support Intro 0865, and it will provide valuable data to help identify hazardous industries and determine the necessary steps to prevent future workplace. Thank you so much for hearing me.
Thank you. I really want to thank this panel for their testimony today. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much. We will now call up our next panel, State Senator Jessica Ramos. Yes, you are a panel of one.
This morning. My name is Jessica Ramos, and I represent the Queens neighborhoods of Corona, East Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, and parts of Rego Park in the New York State Senate. I proudly represent the most diverse district in the state, full of constituents who work to provide essential services in all 5 boroughs of New York City. I am testifying in support of the worker fatality bill, intro number 865, introduced by Councilmember Carmen de la Rosa. I'd like to thank the chair and the speaker for inviting me to testify today. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a worker died every 96 minutes from a work-related injury in 2022 compared to 101 minutes in 2021 nationwide. I will allow the experts at NICOSH and the Central Labor Council to expand on the data I have shared in my written testimony, but it is worth emphasizing that there is a scary upwards trend in preventable worker deaths in our city and state that Intro 865 is well equipped to deal with. Just a few days ago, Richard Arrico, a 19-year veteran of the New York City Sanitation Department, died tragically at work. Reports on this tragedy state that it is unclear what caused him to fall out of his truck, leaving us with a lack of information that we could use to prevent future tragedies. As chair of the Senate Labor Committee, I have made it a priority to ensure workers return home healthy and whole to their families at the end of the day. I championed the Workplace Fatalities Registry Bill, which was enacted in 2022 and established a registry of workplace fatalities specifically in the construction industry to record information pertaining to all incidents under which a worker performing construction work suffers a work-related fatal injury. And I see Mike McGuire from the laborers here who helped me draft and pass this bill. This registry is maintained by DOL, the Department of Labor, and the updated information must be accurately published and accessible. This data can be used to vet contracts during bidding and note trends across sectors that informs legislative decision-making. Currently, no city agency collects data on worker fatality in the 5 boroughs. The data will allow us to know which workers or industries are experiencing significant fatalities and how to ensure their safety. As an employer of over 300,000 workers, the city has a responsibility to know the risks its workforce faces. Agencies cannot be responsive to data they do not have. I thank Speaker Adams for allowing intro number 865 to receive a hearing and the bill sponsors for championing worker safety. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last in-person panel is Christopher Leon Johnson. Not here. He's not here. Okay. Okay. If we've inadvertently missed anyone who's registered to testify today and is yet to be called, please speak with a sergeant. Or if you are remote, use the Zoom hand function and you'll be called in the order that your hand has been raised. Anyone on Zoom?
Oh, NICOSH.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have it. We don't have it. Yes, if you could please fill out the form and they'll bring it up. Thank you. Yes. And please take a seat. We just need the card. Thank you. Okay, and our last in-person panelist is Charlene Obenauer.
Thanks so much. My name is Charlene Obenauer, and I'm the Executive Director of the New York Committee for Occupational Safety and Health, NYCOSH. We've been advocating for safe and healthy jobs for decades, with a particular focus on workplace fatalities. And we're here today to testify in full support of Intro 865. The bill would require the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to establish and maintain an online public database of worker fatalities. So for many years, as Brendan had said, we've been putting together a list of workers who have been killed on the job. And we also work with the Speaker of the City Council to compile a list of workers who've died. I will tell you that process might seem like, you know, we just go to a database and we find those deaths. It's not. We have a number of Google alerts set. We go through communications. We go through articles. We go through OSHA data. We go through BLS data. There's no centralized location for this information. So also, you know, in these instances, you know, the OSHA data is released 6 months after a worker is killed. The BLS data is released almost 2 years later. And of course, thanks to our advocates in the New York State Senate and Assembly, there's now a New York State Department of Labor administered workplace fatalities registry for construction deaths. There are media reports, but there's inconsistent information. And we've uncovered important information through our process of collecting data. We found that when a worker dies on a construction site in New York, 80 to 90% of the time, that fatality occurs on a non-union site. We found that immigrant workers, particularly Latinx workers, are more likely to die on the job. And given how intensive it is to recover this data, we don't have the resources to write these reports in every industry, including other industries like the deliveristas with high fatality rates. The bill would give us the opportunity to have timely access to data, and we could write more reports on other industries and frankly serve as a better watchdog to unscrupulous employers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your testimony. Okay, thank you. Okay, wonderful. Well, I really want to thank everyone for coming out for today's very, very important hearing. We really appreciate the testimony that we heard today. And with that, we are going to close the hearing. Thank you.